Good afternoon and welcome yet again to another edition of the Yet to Be Named Employee Experience podcast. I must come up with a name sooner or later. I am delighted to be joined by the wonderful Steph Thommen, who I've known now for a little while, a really experienced HRD. Steph, thank you so much for joining me. Please introduce yourself to everyone, and I can't wait to get into the conversation with you.
Great. I can't wait as well. Thank you for having me. So I'm Steph. I am a fractional head of people, CPO, whatever title people want to give me for startups. And what I do is I help startups get ready for IPO or exit. And my goal is to help them establish the structures and the foundations they need so that they can work together effectively and be able to scale without chaos. I always put a little asterisk to the without chaos. There is never no chaos. But when you have the right structures, there's a lot less chaos and the scaling is easier. So it's a lot less painful, both for the executives that are managing the team and for the team and for the customers, to see the company grow and be successful.
Amazing. And before you went down the fractional route, you had various jobs at senior levels. Just give us a little bit of background of your career before you went down this current fractional path.
Yeah, so my career is what you call a squiggly career. I started in call center as an agent. And I did pretty much every role that you can think about in a call center. So agent, manager, trainer, quality manager. And what I realized over time is that what I'm really, really good at is building good teams. And the reason why I'm good at building good teams is that I understand the systems that make the team work together. Over time, I ended up being hired away from call centers by one of my clients, which was a startup. And I'm now been in startups for 19 years and helping startups grow their teams and build effective teams. And over time, what has happened is that I realized that customer success was limiting because I was only fixing customer success and there were other teams around that needed to work more effectively for my team to be able to work more effectively. So I ended up moving into the people function because then I can work strategically with the executives and help them build the best teams they can.
I love it. Thank you for sharing this. And look, we've been speaking for a little while, so I know we've got a shared passion for the workplace in general. Yes. Obviously, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the employee engagement element of things. Let me start by asking the first question, if I may. I know we share a passion for a progressive workplace where we can get employees to thrive. The impact, the positive impact on employee engagement versus the negative impact. What have you seen, and what's your thoughts with regards to this whole subject regarding engaged employees and the definition of it by default as well?
Yeah. So the short answer is you can't have a successful business if you don't have engaged employees. Or you could have a successful business, it's going to cost you a lot more to be able to build that. And the reason why I am saying that is, and there's a lot of data around that, I'm not going to quote them all, but if your workforce is not engaged, you're losing about 20% productivity, and that impacts your bottom line directly. And the other thing is, you're losing the productivity because you're losing people's discretionary effort.
Yeah.
If someone comes in as this kind of and then goes away, they've done their job. They might be doing their job, but they're not doing their job as well as they could. And the reason that happens is that they're not interested. And to interest people, you need three things. You need autonomy, you need mastery, and you need purpose. So purpose, why am I here and how do I contribute? the autonomy, I can do my job, and the mastery, I do my job well. And that's engagement.
Yeah.
Those are the three main aspects of engagement.
I absolutely love that. And you mentioned at the beginning of when you started to talk about this around the lack of productivity with a disengaged workforce, and there's so much evidence to suggest that is absolutely the case, and it's a pretty obvious one when you sit down and think about it. I think from my viewpoint, with what we're trying to do at Mint, we sell to commercial organizations. That's who our customer base is, and I think it's so important when we're talking about the whole engagement piece. We can talk about productivity, we can talk about performance, but it's absolutely essential to link that back to profitability as well.
Absolutely.
I don't think this gets spoken about enough, because that's the impact of a disengaged workforce. You're not maximizing the profits. Do you see that as well?
I see that as well, and I'm going to take it a step further. If your workforce is not engaged, and I'm seeing that in startups, if you're losing people's engagement, you're not going to be as innovative. So people are going to come in, they're going to do their job, and they're going to go away. They're going to see a problem. If they're not engaged, the problem is going to stay there, and they're going to work around it. If they are engaged, they're going to actively solve that problem. And over time, all of those teeny little problems that are being solved one day after the other because, this is not working. How can I do that better? This is not working. We're not communicating well enough between sales and tech. How do we make that better so that we can improve the product? All of those little things don't happen. And over time, it costs businesses thousands and thousands of pounds.
Couldn't agree more. So within the realms of the work that you do, how do you engage with your clients, the employers, so that they recognize the importance of this? How do you have that discussion with them to get them on board that employee feedback, employee engagement is the secret ingredient to maximizing productivity?
I usually get them to think about how much money they're losing, because if you think about it from a startup perspective, whether you're a seed startup or you're going for Series A, your runway is always limited.
Yes.
And if you show numbers and say, well, you're currently, because your attrition is at, let's say, 10%, and you know that the cost of replacing someone is at least a time and a half the salary of the new person, how much are you losing? If your employee was engaged, the engagement, like you can show the data, engagement increase retention. So retention directly reduces cost. And then engagement increases productivity by 20%. So you're reducing your cost and increasing your productivity. How much more money are you making? And what I like with that kind of work as well is, because you're improving the environment, you're also impacting the people that are working in the team positively. 100%. And you're creating a work environment where people are actually thriving, rather than just having the Monday scaries.
Couldn't agree more. And then I think the byproduct of that, from my experience, is the customer benefits, because the level of customer service goes through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's always amazed me, why would anybody want a disengaged workforce representing their business?
I don't think they think about it that way.
But that's the reality, isn't
it? They think about it as cost. So I'm going to keep my customer service team as lean as possible, so they're always going to be struggling. I'm going to stretch my sales team as much as I can so that they will always be struggling and not always achieve their bonus. I do the same with my CX team. Product team is in over their head and everyone is stressed. And it's not an environment where people will be doing their best work. If you think about it, like the audience, they think about it, you do your best work when there is a certain level of stress, like you want to do it and there's a little bit of pressure, but when there's too much pressure, your body just goes, I can't do it anymore.
Absolutely. And it's a company's responsibility to manage the well-being of their staff without a shadow of a doubt, because again, that helps with engagement. If you show that you're going to get more commitment. I think that goes hand in hand. It's really interesting that you've dived into the cost element of this. So when you're talking about the engagement piece and implementing solutions, whether it be Mint 66 or anyone else out there, do you have a different conversation with the CFO than you would do with the founder or the CEO? Is there a different approach to each one of those individuals?
The conversation usually happen at the same time, and the beginning of the conversation is usually, well, Steph, you're talking about something that's completely fluffy. And it's kind of, no. Not really. And then we dive into the numbers. So I ask them, what is your attrition currently? Did you know that the cost of attrition for a junior person is 1.5 times their salary? How much money are you losing? When you're losing a senior person, it can go to up to 2.5 times the salary. How much money are you losing? And why are people leaving? What's the reason people are leaving? Well, they're unhappy. Why are they unhappy?
Yeah.
And unhappy is lack of engagement. So already you're losing money. And now imagine that if all of those people stayed, so maybe you're going to the last people I worked with, they saved over 500K in improving their attrition. It's kind of, okay, add to that an improvement of your productivity by 20%. How much more runway are you getting?
Yeah.
And suddenly you see the lights go on and go, we need to pay attention.
I think my experience since we started MIM is that the conversation between forward-thinking businesses that get that and those that are stuck in the mentality of, yeah, look, we do an annual tick box exercise. I'm fine with that. Do you see a shift in the market? I mean, from my viewpoint, I think the workplace is unrecognizable post-COVID, and the need for businesses to understand their people better has probably never been more relevant. What are you seeing out there amongst the client base you work with?
I've been talking about engagement, well-being, purpose for the better part of 15 years. And at the beginning, I did a lot of networking and talking about what I was saying, and people were looking at me like that. They're just going, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And over time, and now I have people come talk to me and say, so that thing you've been talking about. And so I see a shift, and I think my experience is the tick box exercises is usually the larger organizations, because they don't really care, and they already have the money and they have the revenue coming in, and they know they have a product. And in my view, this is probably why large organizations don't survive as long anymore. You used to have like very long lasting companies, and those are starting to die off just because they're not paying attention to the market, to their staff, and to creating a good environment for people. And startups, because they have to be lean by default, they have no other choice than to be lean. Paying attention to their people comes more naturally. It's easier to make that step. And there's also less, I'm going to say baggage, less history. It's kind of, we've always been doing these things that way. Startups are used to saying, okay, this is not working, what do we do about that? This is not working, what do we do about that? So they have that mindset. Larger organizations don't really have that, or older organizations don't really have that.